John Wilson with Sumter County Transit.
Bob Morayo, City of Mount Toro City Council.
Kim Richmond, LakeSumterMPO staff.
Jamie Hanya, a latest MPO member from District 5.
Andy Dubois, I sit on the Citizens Advisory Committee, the MPO, for representing District 3.
Bill Calhoun, Lady Lake, CPC.
I'm Jim Hitt, Planning and Zoning Director for Claremont, and I serve current chair on the UTSC.
And back is Francis Brinko, he's over our geographic information services.
Yes, what he said.
Running our technology today. And just a note, you know, we'll go over this in depth here in just a moment, but between staff and TAC members that are on the technical advisory committee, we've got a couple, actually 3 citizen advisory committee members, elected official, and who knows, we may be surprised to be joined by another one, but the whole structure of how it all works together, that's part of the big topic today of how it all functions. So we'll give you some background about history, the law, the structure of MPOs in general, and then this MPO in particular. And I do refer to MPOs as snowflakes. There's a lot of MPOs in this country. There's 46 in Florida, and none of them are the same. When they structure themselves in terms of regional governance, it's different in every case. So with that said, the first thing we want to tackle is we want to utilize Karen's expertise to go over. Always good to hear from an attorney when we're talking about the Sunshine Law, ethics and public records, and do a lot of update on some recent legislative changes. So with that, I'll turn it over to Eric.
Well, I have slides in here between the sections to kind of remind me to stop and look for questions. But if any of you do have any questions, just feel free to interrupt me anytime. Don't worry from the middle. All right, so usually I like to start off with a little cartoon, illustrate the importance of the Sunshine Law. This is our first topic. Sunshine Law is in both our Florida statutes and in our Florida Constitution. Florida statutes say that all meetings of any board or commission at which official acts are to be taken are declared to be public meetings open to the public at all times. And no formal action shall be considered binding except as taken or made at such a meeting. Sunshine Law basically provides the public a right of access to governmental proceedings at those state and local levels, and it protects the public from closed-door decision making. There's 3 basic requirements. Reasonable notice must be given so the public can decide whether or not they want to attend the Sunshine meeting. Meetings must be open to the public, and minutes of meetings must be taken. You as board and committee members on the MPO need to know that the Sunshine Law applies to any private meeting of or private communication between 2 or more members of the same board or commission in which matters on which foreseeable action can be taken by the board or commission are discussed. And that applies to any form of communication, like meeting in person, emails, and phone calls. Illustrate this by hypothetical. 2 BPAC members live next door to each other. Each morning they go out at 7 a.m. to pick up the newspapers via their driveway. While picking up the papers, they talk to each other. Sometimes about their favorite football team, New York Giants. Sometimes about an item that's on the next BPAC agenda, and sometimes about the plans for the Ohio Park Trail. So, anybody see any issues with any of those topics of conversation?
Oh, yeah. I suspect.
The last 2, exactly. So the New York Giants, obviously, that's not a problem. The item on the next BPAC agenda, clearly prohibited. Remember, I mean, these are 2 people talking to one another. They're on the same board or committee. This is not a public meeting. Nobody's been noticed. No minutes are being taken. So they can't talk about the item that's on the next agenda. And the plans for the Ohio Parkway and Trail, if you think about what we just talked about, that's something that would foreseeably and reasonably be on, that would be coming before their board or committee. So they should not be talking about that in private, if they're not a public hearing. Here's another one. One of these is a Sunshine Law violation. The MPO executive assistant emails an agenda for an upcoming MPO board meeting to all board members. She asks them to respond as to whether or not they're going to be in attendance. One member hits reply all to say that he'll attend, and adds he's looking forward to discussing the Transportation 2035 plan that's on the agenda. He thinks it's a well-drafted document. He likes its emphasis on public transit. Another member reads that email, hits reply all, and says that he does not support that item on the agenda, and hopes that all the members are going to reject it at the meeting. So, anybody want to guess which of those was the Sunshine Law violation?
Definitely the second one, but I think the first
best practices under the Sunshine Law. But yes, you're right. The second communication is the violation, and that's because the Sunshine Law is concerned with the back and forth. Technically, that like policy or position statement that the first member put out there, that's technically not a Sunshine Law violation. But what it did was it elicited a response that turned into a Sunshine Law violation.
Stay away from us, who does that.
So for that reason, we recommend that you never reply all to emails that get sent to you, just because that can create the potential for Sunshine Law violations. So if you have questions about a meeting, you want to like call an MPO and ask them where the meeting is or whatever. But if you ever have like positions or an opinion about something on the agenda, you want to express this at the public hearing. And courts have said that the Sunshine Law has to be construed so as to frustrate all evasive devices. That means that, you couldn't get around the Sunshine Law by like circulating a written statement and saying, write your opinion in the margin and send it back to me. Or by saying, staff member, please go talk to so-and-so, get their opinion on this, and then report back to me. That would be an evasive device.
It also includes text as well, the meetings over again.
I mean, any.
Texting business while the meeting's in session.
If you're texting to another board member,
Right.
and you're not like making your comments on the record.
Of course, I know nobody ever does that, but.
Not at the MPO. We're talking about.
Not at this level.
Bill's gonna be our troublemaker for this, this section. There was a 2012 legislative session change to the Florida statute regarding MPOs, and I put it in here because we're talking about Sunshine Law. And TJ can jump in if I'm saying anything inaccurate here. Basically, the statutes currently say that at the apportionment stage, FDOT representatives serve as non-voting members of the MPO governing board. The current amendment, or the recent amendment to law says that they're now going to serve as non-voting advisors to the governing board. And that was done apparently to remove any concerns that like Sunshine Law violations could occur, because the Sunshine Law does apply to non-voting members as well. So I believe there was concern that members on the MPO governing board talking to their FDOT representative, that could be a Sunshine Law violation.
This has been hanging out there so long that when this MPO was created in 2004, and Sandy Minkoff was legal counsel, we already knew not to put DOT on there as a non-voting member because it would be a sunshine violation. So we didn't. A lot of MPOs in the state have DOT listed as a non-voting member. So that in effect made them subject when you couldn't talk to your DOT representative unless it was at the meeting.
Which is virtually impossible to do because you've got projects all the time.
So the new status, can you put
They're an advisor now, they're officially.
advisory rather than
Which is not subject to sunshine.
not, that's different than a non-voting member.
Right. They don't say.
Under the law, yeah. Okay, thanks.
And again, as TJ noted, because MPO is proactive about this, it doesn't, the current change doesn't affect us since our representatives and non-voting liaison. I mentioned briefly some of the other Sunshine Law requirements. Again, reasonable notice. Public needs to have reasonable and timely notice. They can decide whether or not they want to attend. And meetings can be held at exclusive or inaccessible facilities to the public. Minutes are required. We can use sound recordings, and minutes can be like a brief summary of the event. So they don't have to like be a word-for-word transcript. They do have to report those. There are penalties in Florida statutes for violation of the Sunshine Law. They nullify board decisions. There's, punishable with a fine of up to $500. Other penalties include payment of attorney's fees incurred by the challenging party. I think a big issue in this case, which I use as an instructive example. City of Venice in 2008, 4 city council members and the mayor basically were holding meetings via email. The city actually admitted this was happening, agreed to prevent future violations. They rejected an early settlement offer of $200,000 and ultimately had to pay $750,000 in attorney fees and costs because the plaintiff prevailed. Total litigation costs were over $1 million. That's why we want the Sunshine
We
Law
can beat this in court.
very seriously. Any questions?
Just one clarification on the alternate for the city of Mount Dora. My recollection from the last time I served on the MPO was that I can speak openly with the member of the MPO. Bob
You mean-
Fieldholm is the actual member on his alternate.
Right.
We can talk about MPO, especially if I'm going to represent the city at MPO.
The only
never gonna be at the same meeting at the same time voting on it, because you're the alternate, right?
Right, if I happen to be at the MPO meeting and Bob Fieldholm is there, I'm not voting, I'm just there as an observer.
And we do encourage that if an alternate does choose to attend, in addition to the primary voting member, we still encourage them to participate in the meeting and not in the table as long as we have seats.
Right.
So that's been our practice.
But I don't vote. I don't vote. Okay, I
And
just.
then after the meeting, could they discuss what occurred at the meeting?
If they're the same organization.
Under the MPO sunshine issue, yes. The only time that there would be a caveat is if we're talking about business that also comes from the city council, then they would have to not talk.
Yeah, I mean, it does apply to non-voting members, but in an alternate situation, you know, if you're not able to vote at the same time, if only one of you can vote, then that's the way it's being handled.
And what typically happens too, that we also encourage, and I know Mount Dora does this, as well as some of the other cities, is they are diligent about actually discussing MPO business after council and commission meetings. And some cities do that, and it really makes the dynamic work better. Some cities do not have the MPO as a regular topic, and that's something I work with administrators on. But that also helps everyone when they get here at the governing board, with the committee meetings, everybody's going to work prepared. So, a couple other things I wanted to point out, we have a bunch of committees. I mean, the TAC, CAC, BPAC are the most familiar, but we also have two different committees, one for each county on transportation disadvantage issues. And we have an executive committee, that's made up of governing board members. We have, multiple task forces that focus on either geographic issues or specific transit issues, and that continues to evolve. So all of those meetings, we advertise. We have a record of the meeting in the minutes. And even when there are some unusual circumstances, I think one just happened last week. There was a meeting a couple weeks ago in Claremont that involved Commissioner Parks and Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Goodgame. And both of them sit on the MPO board. Both of them, one being city and one being county, had an issue with a DOT project and we got everybody in the room. The MPO advertised that meeting as a public meeting. Now, nobody from the public attended that meeting, but we do follow the law, and even if there's just 2 board members, out of 29, by the way, there's 29 governing board members, 16 of them vote, and the others are either ex officio or non-voting. So, anytime we anticipate, and this has happened many times over the years, that we have any 2 members or committee members, et cetera, we advertise those events. So, any other questions of Aaron before we let
Yeah,
go?
so, just to be clear, you mentioned the statute changes in 2012, right? And am I under the sunshine as a member of the CAC?
Oh, yeah.
With other CAC members.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand it changed the designation from, to advisor?
That really, the statute change refers to the governing board.
Oh, the governing board, got it, okay.
So, yeah, but I mean, in case we put it
That
in.
was just about the DOT
That was
person.
it, okay.
Not us.
Anytime you're with fellow CAC members, you're not to talk about anything that is recently going to come onto that agenda.
Talk about TJ.
Yeah, we can talk about that. There's a lot of subject matter there and laugh about, but you can definitely speak to your governing board member, especially the one that appointed you. We encourage that.
Okay.
There's no problem there.
Okay.
And the votes, although they are advisory in nature of all of the advisory committees, they are still formal actions, and thus the sunshine law.
Just in case anyone's mind is working ahead to whether or not, like, city council can talk about MPO business without it being advertised as MPO business, that has been addressed in a number of, attorney general opinions. The attorney general said basically, it's okay, it doesn't have to be separately advertised as an MPO meeting if a city council or a county commission is going to be talking about MPO business at a public meeting. FYI. All right, we're gonna move on to ethics disclosure. Florida Constitution says public office is a public trust. People shall have the right to
women that raise my hand. And on occasion, my mayor, my TAC member, and myself ride together from Lady Lake, town car. Can we discuss transportation issues as they apply to Lady Lake? The things that we are working with, or probably not necessarily even coming from this board at that point in time, but just talking about transportation in general, or should we just not fuss with it, not play around with it?
You're riding with who?
The mayor and the TRC member.
And you're on, remind me again, CAC, you're on the CAC?
CAC, Lady Lake, got three of us, two advisory committee members and the governing board.
Yeah, I mean, is it something, I mean, I guess the general rule is something that's gonna be coming before your board or commission.
Totally, yeah, and then it flips back to the other sunshine law application.
Well, I mean, okay, so you've got a mayor, a TAC, and a CAC member riding the car. Sounds like a good joke.
Yeah.
The
It
mayor
doesn't sound
says-
like there'd be a conflict, it's totally a separate board.
The mayor serves on the governing board.
Yeah, I had to
TAC,
bring that up.
CAC, so they're on the sunshine law.
No, but it, as Aaron pointed out, if it applies to something we're considering for the town, that's another issue. That's
Yeah, but it's still
another
just one person from the town commission.
And he's the mayor.
He's the mayor.
Well, I mean, I guess if it's any, well, yeah, I see what you're saying. So basically, there's no other CAC members in the car. You're the
Yeah.
only one.
Yeah, actually, you're kind of doing your role, that the technical person is talking to the citizen, talking to the mayor.
Mhm.
Actually, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah. Just don't monitor it, for a lot of other reasons.
Well, it's good you're bringing these things up, because every time I give this presentation, something different that I haven't thought about before comes up. And that's a good one to think about. But I think, yeah, there has to be two members of the same board commission. It has to be something that's either, that could proceed to become board or board. Gift law. Gifts are pretty broadly defined under the statutes. Gift is anything of value, so that would include loans and promises of future employment, favors, for instance. If you gave equal or greater than fair market value within 90 days of receipt of the gift, not be a gift.
How about food tray?
A what?
A food tray.
I want you all to know that DOT has been instructed, the staff members, to take this so seriously, that even when we have water at the table, they will leave $1.
Oh.
Yes, because they've been instructed to accept nothing for you.
Yep.
Well, if you remember back to the previous slide, it's anything that would, it's being given to influence you and your vote,
Okay.
so this is being given to educate you, it's not being given to influence you. Presumably, right? Other than make you like.
Yeah,
you do.
like the MPO.
Voting conflicts. Okay, statutes say that no public officer shall vote upon any measure which would inure to his or her special private gain or loss, or the special private gain or loss, to paraphrase, of any, like, principal by whom you are retained, meaning like an outside employer, or to a relative or business associate. Voting conflict law applies to public officers, and that, includes people serving on advisory bodies. What does it mean if something inures to your special private gain or loss? Well, the courts have said that generally that refers to a financial interest of a public official that's directly enhanced by the vote in question. So here's an MPO example, where the Commission on Ethics, the Florida Commission on Ethics, said that voting on a road extension, if the board or committee member owned property that would have to be acquired as right of way to the road, that would be a conflict of interest. And it was kind of a strange opinion, because they said that even if that was the case, there wasn't a conflict on preliminary matters related to the road extension. So like they let this board or committee member vote on like a design issue. Because they said it didn't like directly affect how fast it was gonna,
Yeah.
they were having to do negotiations for the right of way.
They can recuse themselves from our issue, can't they?
There-
That takes care of, go on, Bill, hold on.
Yes, I mean, again, like technically, I don't go like too much into detail about this. I mean, generally, if you don't have a conflict, you are required to vote. If you do have a conflict, then yes, you have to file a conflict form, and we'll get to that. And there is another statute that says you can abstain if you believe there is a conflict. Generally, like the general rule is though, is that unless you have a conflict, you should vote, because that's your job as a public officer.
We have had a TAC member abstain from a vote on the plan because the plan included the improvement of the road by his property. I thought that was a very, very conservative approach, but he was he said adjacent to, so I said, okay, I understand your concerns, but that's very preliminary. And so in our world, just to add some tangibility to this, it seems to me that when we're doing PD&E studies and talking about the phasing, really the MPO is only approving typically the programming of state and federal funds. Even when the county projects, that does not necessarily come before us except in the form of the county's road program being added to our TIP. But when it gets to the commission level, I know the commission is usually on consent agenda, does have contract for waterway acquisition. So that would be an item where a commissioner, if the contract is affecting their property, they would definitely need to not vote on a contract on that.
I mean, anytime you have a financial benefit that, or financial benefit or loss, basically.
So it's in the planning stages then, and I'm in the body that isn't gonna vote on it one way or another. Even if it's, like you say, it's run past my front door. And I could go ahead and vote on it, not because it is advisory that, or pending, final approval. It may wind up, it doesn't go by my front door after all at all.
I mean, again, I don't know, if we're just gonna be, if they were improving the road in front of your house, I mean, that probably isn't a conflict. If they actually need to acquire right away and they're gonna have access to your property,
Okay.
and they're gonna be paying you to take this
Yeah.
property, and you're gonna be obviously losing it, because I mean, that is a direct, financial gain or loss
Okay.
that is interesting.
Getting a paved road is considered a financial gain.
Exactly, well, yes. You might feel it's a gain to suddenly have the road, you're no longer have to live in a dirt road, but.
There was a case back, I want to say about 12 years ago, of a county commissioner over in Orange County. They paved the road in front of his house. There was no right-of-way acquisition needed. They used all the right-of-way. He was basically accused of voting for something that was going to benefit him. And it went to, there was a decision by one of the judges, there was a judge that basically said he didn't get any money for it. Yes, he's got a paved road, but he didn't get, other than a paved road, he didn't.
No benefit.
Huh,
Yeah.
that's interesting. It was in Orange County?
In Orange County,
I'll
yeah.
have to look it up.
It was, let's see. I'll get the road for you, and I can get you the council or the commission number.
That'd be good to know. I thought you were gonna say that, they found you had a conflict, and I was gonna say that.
I don't believe there was a conflict, for it, but,
That's good.
Well, it's kids
it's
behind the
that's
state.
all I remember.
Well, I think, again, if you go back to the purpose of the law, it's like your public officers, you are supposed to be taking, doing, kind of like taking actions and advising in the governing board. So that is kind of the purpose of the balancing act. I mean, the statutes do provide this kind of shelter. If there's a genuine case where you have, there would be a conflict other than that. Statute is pretty clear.
Well, this topic actually fascinates me because it's so rare that I see opportunities at the MPO level to even have a conflict. But I'm reading this and going, okay, PD&E studies. You can't really, like this says, you can't really have a conflict because the whole point of studies is to determine if there's a need or not, what the preferred alternative is. When you get to design, I can see that not applying unless they're bringing up something about design as part of the formal process and saying, you need to apply more right-of-way and my property's affected. That would then kick in the third part there about otherwise directly affect right-of-way acquisition efforts.
Potentially. And, and they said, in this opinion that, well, voting on this design, it may kind of indirectly have the effect of slightly speeding up the road. But they basically said it wasn't a, something that immediately is going to result in him getting paid for this piece of his property sooner rather than later. So, yeah, we could vote on it. What's not considered a voting conflict under Florida case law is bias or prejudice in the public officer based on other than private economic interests or relationships and ideological interests. So the example I give is that if somebody, board member rides her bike to work every day, she generally prefers a bike because it's better than cars and other transportation. That does not mean that she has a voting conflict in a matter involving bike. That's the, yes.
Because we couldn't vote on MPO matters because we got a car.
Right.
Good logical look.
That's true, and it's, yeah, it's, well, I just know when I go through these presentations, there's so many aspects of the law, and it's like, you get to the point where you're like, what can I do? Can I do anything?
I have actually
you have a conflict of interest on an agenda item, we generally recommend, we like to, get those kind of calls like earlier, because often there is kind of like research that we need to do to see if there's been similar questions about those conflicts. So you can always call us and ask. But if you can't ever do that, or you get in the meeting and you discover something on the agenda that you think is a conflict, what the law requires you to do is to disclose the conflict verbally prior to any discussion occurring on the item, abstain from voting, and file a conflict form for 60 minutes. And Sue has conflict forms.
Is there an occasion where if I filed a conflict form that somebody up the line, whoever that might be, that say, well, that's not a valid reason for conflict of interest, you should not have done, you should not have abstained, you should have voted on it? And if that were true, what's the process behind that? Do they say, okay, go back and re-vote?
I don't know that there's actually a real remedy for that. I mean, there have been cases that I've read where somebody abstained from voting and then the Commission on Ethics said, really, that wasn't a conflict. Again, I mentioned a statute, which I don't include in here, but there is a statute that says you have this kind of like reasonable belief that you have a conflict, it's okay to go ahead and file a conflict form, and that kind of gives you an out. So, and I think it's meant to address situations like that because, there's never a situation where you have this answer and an opinion issued by the Commission on Ethics right before you go into the meeting, that's exactly on point. So the point of that statute is if there ever is a situation where you really think you have a conflict.
That's why it's delivered to the secretary to be attached to the minutes for that meeting, right?
Yeah, I mean, it goes on the record, like your conflict goes on the record.
Yeah.
But again, the law says that basically you have to declare the conflict verbally prior to the discussion for the item. And I think the point is that way the discussion doesn't happen and you're not influencing the discussion. The rules are different for elected officials, just FYI, but for appointed officials, that's the way.
Well, if you have a conflict, can't you still discuss it? Yeah.
You can discuss it, but you have to declare it, declare it verbally prior to the discussion.
Prior to, okay.
So that everyone knows whatever you say is like,
Could not be biased, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, elected, I think that's the difference, that elected officials can talk about it and then right before the vote say, actually, I have a conflict on this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they declare it, like you say, and then they're allowed to talk.
Now, something is ultimately voted down because of a conflict, and then the ethics committee basically says, hey, this really wasn't a conflict. Can they bring that back for another vote?
I don't know, I mean, I think it would depend on.
I've never heard of it being done.
If that one vote that abstained because of an alleged conflict. that
Yeah,
was
and ends
not-
up becoming a tie because usually it's an odd number.
I hope I never have to find out.
Somebody would have had to bring that to the attention of information anyway, and then they would have to investigate it, so it isn't like it's a flat rule, it is or it isn't, that if somebody reports it, even if it's bogus, a bogus report, the commission still has to look at it and then investigate it and make a decision on it, is that correct?
If you write into them for an opinion, yeah, I mean, they need to,
Yeah.
they'll issue an opinion. Sometimes they might say this is similar to this other opinion, or that.
Not very likely.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've never heard of something going back because there is kind of like a due process
Yeah.
issue, especially for
Right.
land use cases and things like that, I don't think you could. And, I mean, technically, you wouldn't always know how the person would have voted there. They might say, I'm abstaining, but I dislike this.
Yeah, of course, we don't, unless you've got a conflict, there have been moments where someone has said, I abstain, well, you can't. You have to vote one way or the other, just because if you're conflicted internally does not mean it's a conflict.
If your wife doesn't like it, doesn't make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, and I think I saw one opinion where somebody said, well, my landlord's coming before our commission and they have a request and they're my landlord and that means, the commission said that is not a conflict. And again, going back to the whole, you have to be financially benefiting or losing.
Landlord kicks them out because of the vote.
You can understand why they had some trepidation, I think.
Wow.
It's not a conflict.
They were elected to serve the landlord too.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions on ethics?
I wish everybody should come to this.
Right.
Listen to themselves.
Don't worry, I'll be giving it another, I'm sure, I feel like I usually give it
Well, usually.
several times a year. We're talking briefly about public records law. talked about, obviously could be implicated in social networking among, board committee members. So AGO means Attorney General opinion, and our Florida Attorney General has opined that the use of a website, blog, or message board to solicit comment from other members of a board or commission on matters that would come before their board would trigger the requirements of the Sunshine Law, which just basically says that the Sunshine Law can be violated. Again, we said it can be violated over email, on a phone, or in person. I mean, basically, the Attorney General is just saying that it could be violated on a website or a message board as well if members of the same board or commission were like messaging back and forth as well. Public records law, which we just talked about, there too, the Attorney General said that postings of city council member related to public duties would be subject to public records law. Same thing with information on the municipality's Facebook page. So, the county, Lake County has a Twitter account. I think one of economic development, I believe, has a Twitter account, and our IT department apparently figured out some way to like capture. You all have the same thing?
We don't do Twitter, we do Facebook, right?
Facebook. Okay. So, and you have the same like setup with IT where they
Yep.
kind of like.
And we don't let people, we post information, we disseminate, but we don't allow others to post, that way we avoid any conflicts, people out there.
So we just generally recommend that, when it comes to your personal Facebook pages and websites, that you, one, take care to avoid posting position statements. We talked about how that tends to like elicit responses. And usually, generally, of course, it might be best just to leave your personal, websites and that kind of thing, like for personal use.
I had a task force meeting the other day, that lady, and two commissioners attended it, and one of them was new. And the one that had been there a while said, I better go talk to him because he needs to understand that he cannot question the board, our task force. And I think that it occurred to me, why not? He maybe, she was liaison from the board to the commission, to the task force. He was not, he was just a commissioner. He was there to find out what the heck we were talking, and he knew. So, at some point, he can revert to being just a citizen again, and saying, I've got this question for your task force about, as long as it doesn't, gonna benefit him, but his position doesn't keep him from.
He's not on the task force.
He's not on it. He's not on the task force. He's not the liaison to that task force.
Yeah.
So there should be no reason he couldn't ask a question or make a comment. He's public in front of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think he would be treated like any member of the public, basically.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't go there and say, my name is Commissioner Jones, and I think Bill Callen ought to do this, that's a whole different thing. They've done that, but.
Yeah, I don't wanna pass judgment on any. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that would constitute, I guess, a sunshine or public records or an ethics.
Okay, yeah, I thought that was a little bit of overkill on it.
Just a quick comment on the public records. One unusual thing that occasionally has happened here is that a consultant or an interested party will call and say, I want this information. And we sometimes will have to say, we don't have the information in that format. We have data, but we haven't generated the kind of report we're asking for. And we've gotten the retort, well, we're gonna make a public records request, you have to give it to us. And our response is, you can have all the raw data you want.
Yep.
Do it yourself. So that's one of the things that until we produce something with that data, then it's, the data's there. Once we produce that report, our report's public record, but there are circumstances that we've been
We're
approached.
gonna have to put it together for them.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to produce it in like a particular format, so if they want it, like, or if they want you to create a new record, you
Yes.
have to do that.
If you've got it in, like a Word document, you may request it as a PDF instead.
No,
You know,
I mean-
Still Word, whatever, or PDF or whatever.
You just produce what you have. I mean, if
Gotcha.
they wanted to print out, I guess it wouldn't even matter, but I mean, if they wanted like an electronic, or I guess if you were gonna put documents on a disk or something for them, and
Mhm.
they wanted, they could only read PDFs, they couldn't read Word documents.
Yeah.
You would be required.
Okay.
So, and yeah, when I do kind of similar presentation for like new employees, and we talk at length about how to respond to public records requests. You all don't ever have to worry about that. I mean, basically, you just,
Aaron?
Yes.
I have a quick question on that as well. For clarification, when someone makes a crash data request, generally it's for the actual report itself. We've gotten a bit of a mixed signals, if you will. In the past, there's a lot of personal information at times in that particular request, in that form. We've been asked to scratch that off in the past. Recently, Mike has approached me and said that we are no longer required to do that. However, in the forms we initially submitted to DHS&V, that was one of the requirements to acquiring that data. Has that changed lately? Have you heard anything particular?
That came up recently, and I started some of the research on that. I didn't finish it out. It went to a different attorney. And basically anything that's ever exempt has to be redacted under the law. So like social security numbers, if they were on which I don't think they were, but if they were, then those would have to be redacted.
Okay.
But I think there was like a federal law that was in play, but didn't end up affecting Florida public records law.
Okay.
If it's not exempt, then we don't redact it.
Because it's mostly address, sometimes license number may be on there.
Right.
So we're just still being careful and making sure that we track those wherever it comes up.
Yeah, there's basically not, the records law is very, very broad. I mean, generally, bank account, numbers, like medical information. But I think even we didn't think what was on that form like qualified.
Okay.
There's only like very few things that are exempt, and as I recall, we looked at those.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff that didn't really fall under Florida
Okay.
law, and the federal law didn't end up affecting it. So,
All right. Well, I just wanted to definitely be clear on that because, again, it's one of those sensitive areas where information get passed down. So we may submit it to, let's say, a city inquiry,
right.
but somehow it gets passed on forward maybe to a consultant, which now becomes private now. Completely public information.
Yeah, I mean, as a general rule, I mean, again, you can't release anything that's like confidential or beyond confidential or exempt, but beyond that, it's okay.
Or it might place a person in some sort of physical danger. For some reason, I don't know what MPO document would ever do that, but if there was some, like revealing that person's name that might cause them problems, then that can be redacted also, as I understand.
Well, it just depends. I mean, if there was like, what do you mean? Like, is there a lawsuit? Are you saying like?
No. It's such a stretch, and it's probably never gonna happen in this particular environment, so just
Like
forget the question.
building plans and blueprints are exempt, judges, police officers' names and addresses are exempt.
I don't know what Mayor Chase and Francis is referring to, because in a traffic accident report, I can understand why having your name, address, and driver's license, you wouldn't want that distributed.
Right.
So,
Your signature.
That's really
your
it.
signature's on the form,
Yeah.
too,
Mhm.
that's,
But, yeah,
personal risk.
the law is very, very broad. Like, it doesn't provide that much coverage. Even for things you wouldn't necessarily want to be released.
One of the places that the law allows for common sense. If it's gonna be a bad thing, don't do it.
Doesn't work that way. So, any questions from this? Here's my total. Welcome, everyone. Thanks.
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks a lot.
TJ?
Stay dry.